Yep. Woo! I'm here, never fear. Yep. Competing with some of the midday giants, I see. But yeah, driving from my dad's place. Yeah. What's up, everybody? Say something in the chat so I know you're here. Yeah. I know this is going to be a heavy, heavy topic, so I'm prepared. And I do have a few questions for a lot of people. When have gun laws ever worked? I hate to say it, but when do criminals follow the law in the first place? Because places like New York, with strict gun laws, we got Roy up in the building. We got K. We got AO. We got the Mac. Because every time I look at Miami, New York, Chicago, Detroit, LA, with all these strict gun laws, it has yet to restrict anybody from getting fucking shot. I'm sorry. I gotta woosah my passions. Think about it. The other day in New York, a madman, a domestic terrorist, if you will, threw a smoke bomb or grenade, whatever the hell it was, in a subway and aimed and shot a few people and got away. So I always wondered, when have gun laws worked? Because if you really want to look at it, they haven't. Do you think we're less civilized or more civilized than, let's say, 100 years ago? Now, hold on for a second. I'm driving. Just remind me when I'm parked. Now we got to say something that's very strange and particular, such as, one, who are coming up with these laws that are counterproductive and why? And two, have this fundamentally curbed violence? The answer is no. You come out with the ghost gun phenomenon. Well, in case people make these lower uppers, well, 80% of it you didn't make. Well, you still got to go to somebody with the drilling and the tools to carve out to make your weapon. And it's funny because, one, the less you arm citizens, the more you make them subject. I'm going to say it again. The less you arm your citizens, the more likely you're going to make them. Sorry about that, folks. But where were we? One, you got to be an abrasive fool to think that gun laws, the stricter gun laws, are going to work for your community. Let's basically put it to you this way. It was a white officer a few years ago. He's promoted as a sergeant now. And he said, if you really want to think about racism, look at your laws. Look at how racist a lot of these laws, especially when it comes to firearms, truly are. Of course, we know that gun laws started to become really restrictive due to, you know, folks who basically displayed their right to bear arms, their God-given and born American rights to bear arms, such as the Panther Party. See, it was cool for the Klan to walk around with rifles and pitch torches. Nobody gave a damn. But as soon as black men, and remember specifically black men, started saying, well, I'm more American than these motherfuckers, so I'm going to carry my right to bear arms. Oh, we can't let the Negro get the gun. It ain't fun when the rabbit gets the gun. That's when you started to see a lot of the laws in California and places like that, Maryland and others, where they had such strict restrictions. In the state of Maryland, you had to be former law enforcement, a business owner, armed security, or have a threat of violence against you. If you don't have any of that, you're subjected to anybody's rule. Excuse us for a sec. The Ambo gonna come past us. And if you really pay attention to a lot of this shit, and a lot of these communities within these gun-free zones, you start to learn the only people that don't have the gun are the people who are the law-abiding citizens, typically. And typically what happens is they're going to be subject to everybody's rule and scared for their lives because the criminals never basically said, fuck the gun law. But you get these copycat, weak-kneed, no balls having politicians who want to grasp the first damn thing they find. I'm tough on crime, more gun control, more stricter crimes. When in actuality, you find out studies said that the more you arm people, the more violent crime goes down. See, even a lion won't attack in their prime, healthy wildebeest because they know there's a threat of violence that's waiting for them. There's a chance they can die as well. What's going to happen is that when you take the guns away from the citizens, they're trying to think that, well, if you give the guns to citizens, we can't control them. We can't monitor them. You have so many systems to actually judge if a person is worthy enough or deemed sane enough to actually own a firearm, carry a firearm. Why not you use them? Why don't you use them? Oh, because you would actually be forced to do your job. Okay. You'd be forced to actually to have real scrutiny. But yet, you want to take the easy way out. Oh, we're going to put a law here for guns that don't fucking matter. Who's affected by this shit? Well, if we get rid of ghost guns, we'll bring down crime. Why don't you actually start making, first and foremost, this is how the fuck you bring down crime. You actually make an education system where a motherfucker doesn't have to turn to the streets. You actually incentivize two-parent households instead of incentivizing fucking baby mama-ism. Why don't you actually put money, especially when it comes to the males, because those are the number one people who are going to start doing crime and guns. Why don't you actually put in programs and revamp My Brother's Keeper, the Boy Scouts, the Police Explorers, and others? Why don't you actually make the citizens more responsible and become in a community again? If you really want to solve crime, there's no opportunity. People are going to make an opportunity, legal or illegal. Why don't you hire more police instead of bringing inexperienced citizens in the fold? Why don't you actually give them better training and technology? Why don't you actually bring back the community and police as one? Instead of wasting the fucking money on shit that doesn't work. You can't tell me you're broke, but you can put a fucking speed cam on every goddamn corner. You can't tell me they're broke when your politicians saying they're going through hard times and going through money woes when you make $250,000. I'm looking at you, Miss State's Attorney. Oh, since we're on that fact, since we're going through the whole criminal justice system revamp, why don't you actually prosecute these motherfuckers who's committing the violent crimes, Miss Mosley? And stop trying to lie and say you're going through financial woes when you and your husband make a combined $500,000 together, not including that you're worth, what, anywhere from $1.5 to $4 million? Why not bring some real justice to people who deserve it? Why don't you prosecute all these violent offenders instead of letting them go free due to incompetency of your fucking office? Why don't we get judges in the damn place that actually can fuck around and say, look, if it's a nonviolent offense, to put them either on the fucking box or put them through a program where they don't have to go sell drugs again. What's up, Toya? What's up, electrician? Namer? Why don't you actually do this? Why don't you give the people who qualify permits to carry? Make them go through all the stringent testing, psychological, firearms, and everything they need. Why don't you do that? Why don't you force these people to actually do their fucking jobs? And see, too many people who happen to be fucking getting fed off the system, i.e. politicians and their cronies, why don't we just vote them out? And this is where I got to blame the people. Stop voting for people because of party. Start voting for people due to your interests. This ghost gun shit is like any other gun law that I've ever seen since I've been alive. It does not fucking work, and it does not tackle the fucking issue. It just doesn't. There's a lot of times when you could be in jail and you get a goddamn trade or a degree. Actually, let's do that. Let's actually make jail rehabilitation. It's supposed to be three things: a deterrent, a punishment, and rehabilitation. The only thing I've seen in the last 30 years make a better criminal. But oh, I don't know anything. And I really do think, give me a woo to all my military veterans in the chat. Give me a woo real quick. Because I'm going to say this. How is it that it's fine for me to go to Iraq, Afghanistan to use an M4 and other weapons I had to qualify and specialize in, Sorry about that, people. Some technical difficulties and the phone acting stupid. But at the same time, we got to look at it. How much gun training does the average politician have? 90, I'll even go to 90% of politicians, with the exception of a few. I know there's one who was a former Navy SEAL. I can't remember the state where he was in Congress. But how many times does these politicians actually have any knowledge of fucking firearms, firearm safety, or the capabilities of each firearm and its caliber that's associated to the firearm? So why are these laws being passed without any consideration to the public? You can't say that, oh, well, we're going to be tough and we're going to get these violent crimes. It's not working. You were on a live stream with me yesterday, last night, and you heard gunshots ring out like Christmas carols. Like, what can that politician tell me about a firearm when I can take a 12 gauge and shoot a fucking head target 25, 35 meters away easily? What does that politician have for me? One, I think we need to really revamp who the fuck we vote for. I really think we do. We need to stop voting for cronies. One, we need to stop voting for cronies. Number one, we need to actually look at this person's background, their capabilities, and their knowledge about things that happen within our communities. And watch, and this is the second part of the statement I made. Watch, somehow, some way, they're going to use this shit to blame the Manosphere to what happened in New York. I was talking with Chaos about it. Every time there's a crime, they're going to link somehow the Manosphere to this shit when it's a crime of national news. They're going to link that shit. They're going to link that shit to the crime. Well, you know, he was watching such and such. He was watching this. Watch, somehow they're going to swing this and say, well, you know, we're going to have to look out for these incels who are dangerous. If you haven't seen it, you will. Look at how they're going to connect all this shit to the Manosphere. Instead of taking that individual and saying that's a criminal. That person needs to get the fuck out of society. Because I'm wondering, like, what is the real crime plan? You ask the mayor of Baltimore what the crime plan is. He wants to bring 35 new investigators from the civilian to bring more police on the street. That makes no fucking sense. They're going to be in an office getting fat off a check doing what? Investigating what? Really? Really? Like, I really want to sit down with some of these politicians and have an open forum interview with them and say, what is your crime plan? What do you understand about crime itself. Do you know what the causes of crime are? Because I'm sorry, this single parent shit, that's a major cause of crime. Because what you find out is no discipline, incentivize two-parent households, make tax breaks on mortgage or rent. But yet, they have no idea, nor plan, nor tactical capabilities for crime. What you see a lot of politicians do is put a gunshot wound over a band-aid over a gunshot wound. And you'll get nowhere absolutely quickly. I'm just so confused by this. Of course they are. They don't give a shit. You look at some of the streets in the city.
You look at them now. Think about it. Drugs ain't making the money they used to in the late 80s and 90s. But we still got a large culture of thugism and drugism. Why? Let's look at the parents. Or the lack of parenting, period. The lack of, basically, the lack of actual fucking dignity and respect and manners that we give. It's disgusting. Only in this society will we give a fuck about a Will Smith spot and what's going on in Ukraine and how close we about to set World War III. Like my God. I mean, we got a Supreme Court justice in there who doesn't know what a fucking man or woman is. I mean, hey, well, I'm not a biologist. That's a bullshit answer, man. You're not a biologist, but you, oh my God. But you can't tell if that's a man or a woman. Get the fuck out of here. You got a whole bunch of families that are wayward. I don't know. Sometimes I look at this crime solving shit and we easily can solve it, but we allow idiots to tell us different. We allow people to fucking actually sell us a fucking bunch of crap. I'm gonna open it up real quick and put the link. I want to hear what other people got to say. Hopefully, it's some intelligent dialogue because lately America's been looking like a bunch of dumbasses. Of course, but she's gonna be the same motherfucker. same motherfucker who's going to be fighting for rights for LGBT. But she'll see that black man over there and say, well, you know, if you do the crime, you got a certain time. I'm sorry. It's only fair. So that's the reason why I told you. When you put black women in power, they're going to do absolutely nothing for black men. That's been proven time and time again. They're going to do absolutely fucking nothing. Anybody want to get on? Come on. If not, I don't mind closing that early. Hold on. Appreciate it. Electrician 480. Woo! Gotta give it the old where the hell is it? The old Almighty.
Now for a lesson. You may have heard these words before, but I'll teach you what they really mean. Go beyond. Plus.
Now, I'm gonna really tell you this. As a person who's really concerned about this shit, this is not gonna be the last time you're gonna see some brazen shit like this. And I want you to all go to your respective states, your congressmen, your city councils, and ask them, why can't hardworking, law-abiding citizens carry for their protection? Why can't you? What's the good excuse they're going to use? I would really like to know the response you get back. I want you to ask your mayors, your governors, why can't we carry to protect ourselves from criminal threats like that? I understand that it's much easier to carry for most of my Southern brothers and sisters because of the culture of the gun and also the distance between getting local law enforcement. But especially for my Baltimorean, New York, people like that, I like to know. I like to know. Because that would be a very interesting conversation if you ever stopped them. So why are our gun laws so strict, but yet we still have mass shootings? We have a large number of people still getting shot. Well, I don't mind trusting them if they go through sufficient. You got to put them through sufficient training. I'm not against that. If you make the training requirements harder, I'm okay with that. But after that person has that requirement, you can't do it. Hey, we got a Lindy sighting. What's up, Lindy?
Hey, Charles, what's going on?
Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Hold up. I'm going to come back in and come back out. My phone is really jacked up. Hold on.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Oh, thanks. Good, better. What's your thoughts on it, Lindy?
Um, I'm pretty much am in agreement with you overall. Uh, I got a quick question. I'm not really following any of this stuff. So did they apprehend the supposed assailant?
I don't think they did. I think they just put out his information and they put out who he follows on YouTube or some shit. Like that's important, but it's crazy because I look at it in two different ways. One is the failure of the politician to protect the citizens, and two, they're going to use this as an opportunity to make even more restrictions. And three, I have a strange feeling if they say he watches Kevin Samuels or whoever, they're going to blame the whole goddamn Manosphere.
What, somehow hearing the trope of I don't know, what are they called? The high value man somehow alienated him to the point to where he wanted to commit, such a crime.
And you'll be surprised.
I mean, I can come up with a better narrative than that, but okay.
Trust me. I mean, you're not gonna. What makes it worse is that you're right. You're not gonna come up with a great narrative. You're gonna come up with rash stupidity.
Well,
No, we can't have that because that's why I said Roy, that's why you gotta check the mental issues of a lot of these people. And when you think about it, there are so many people carrying illegal anyway. I'd rather have mine if I got somebody who illegally carrying theirs. But go ahead, Lindy.
No, I'm thinking to myself that
Let's do that.
it never ceases to amaze me that there's always a pattern to these things, and with everything that's going on just domestically, and let's not even worry about the war in Ukraine or whatever, because we've always been at war with Eurasia, if you get my reference. So, I mean, this administration has a certain, and this president in particular has a certain penchant for passing legislation that has had deleterious effects to black men.
Mm-hmm.
And if they try to pin this on someone who may or may not be black, then once again they're using black men as a scapegoat for all the consequences of policies and other machinations that have been going on for a very long time.
All right. And it's crazy because a lot of people forget that he's made a career out of pretty much sticking it to black men. And frankly, every time I see things like this, they're going to make the black man the most evil person ever. But somehow a white person can do the same damn thing. That individual gets to be sick. We don't have the luxury of being mentally ill. We're just criminally thought of as people who are just innately evil.
Well, we can indulge in a certain level of hyperbole and extrapolate this out. When has a black man created the atom bomb and dropped it on on a civilian population?
I've asked people all the time when they talk about violence in black communities. I've said that so many times. We haven't made one.
Well, the community is. Well, let's get this straight, because I'm kind of tired of that. This talking points as well. The community doesn't belong to us because we don't own anything. It's like when I used to live in Baltimore, I'd walk around with my camera and talking to brothers and stuff like that, and they'd get the same old man keeping me down, all this other nonsense. I'm like, yeah, that's true. He is. He's always got his foot on your neck. And he's got his foot on everybody else's neck as well. However, you're sitting here killing each other over corners that you don't own.
Exactly.
Selling dope that you do not. You're not even. Where's your networks bringing this stuff in? You know what I mean? Even Frank Lucas had to, set up a network with soldiers from the hood, to bring the heroin into the United States back in the late 60s and 70s. But how did that network get formed? Who's producing the heroin? So it's like I've never
Remember
seen.
Nino Brown talking about.
Go ahead, Nemo.
I remember Nino Brown. He actually talked about. Look around. No blood. Yeah.
No, continue.
You want to say something, Charles? Oh, okay. Just to pick up what Lindy was saying, like, nobody owns a poppy field. You gotta ask yourself, who is bringing the drugs in? I mean, even what's his name? Freeway Ricky. He had somebody bringing the drugs, right? He had to set up a network with somebody, didn't he? Lindy?
Was that?
I mean, for example, like Freeway Ricky, he himself, he didn't bring it in. He didn't have to bring the stuff in himself. It was somebody else who brought it in.
No,
He needed to establish a network with somebody, didn't
he? Yeah, Freeway Ricky Ross is basically a glorified corner boy. I mean, not to detract him, but he would tell you that himself. Like he wasn't really running the operation. He was just moving it through the hood,
Hey, excuse me, brother. Who is this Freeway Ricky?
Freeway Ricky, Rick Ross.
Oh, Rick Ross. He used to be an informant, right? Before he became a rapper.
No, we're not talking about.
No,
not the rapper.
We're talking about over there. You're talking about the real Rick Ross, right? The real Rick Ross.
Yes, yeah, the real Rick Ross. His nickname was Freeway Ricky.
Yeah, we're not talking about some clown and some glasses, man.
Oh, okay, I got
you. It's all right, Mac. So
I'm doing pretty good, man. Peace and blessings of the Mac God life be upon you. Charles, when you was up there talking about the gun laws, they made me think that gun laws didn't exist in this country until after the 13th and 14th Amendment, when the chattel slaves became citizen slaves after the 13th and 14th Amendment. And I realized that the reason why they make certain gun laws in certain states is to keep certain demographics and masses of people in check in certain places around America, especially in Democratic controlled states like New York and California. In the state of Texas. Oh yeah,
I talked about that earlier about even with the Black Panther Party. The modern gun law started in fucking Cali.
Yes.
Because black men, think about it, a lot of black people own guns. It was it was very common to see a shotgun or rifle near the door, near the bedroom, or a handgun here. And it's funny. You never heard of kids shooting themselves with guns like that.
No.
But guns used to be all over the place, especially if you had family down south. But look what you did. You took the people who had the one. If you were a certain age, by 11 or 10, you probably had, by 5, you probably had a little 22 or a little T gun. You had to learn how to fucking hunt after your food.
I remember when I was growing up, the first person that taught me guns was my Uncle Lester, Uncle Slick. He taught me about guns and everything. He taught me how to deal with like a M1911, a Colt revolver, and also a Remington and the Weatherby rifle. But he also taught me about mastering the weapons of our Native American ancestors as well, like the tomahawk and the bow as well, just in case you can't get access to a gun.
Yeah. And it's funny because if you look at it, like I said earlier, the gun laws are innately racist.
True that.
So they had to change some of these laws because they were basically, a lot of these places were doing some unconstitutional shit.
I.e. black codes, like in the South.
Yeah.
Because the black codes are the foundation of the Jim Crow laws in the South. Because I grew up learning about that from my grandmother and my mom when they explained why in certain places the gun laws were more enforced in black communities than white communities. And then it became more Republican enforcement when Huey P. Newton
and Eldridge Cleaver showed up on the state capitol steps of California with shotguns and rifles, saying we have the right to arm ourselves to defend ourselves according to the I think Second Amendment, because they would defend themselves from police brutality,
Yep.
And then there are times when he knew we would argue with those politicians, he would carry 2 books, the State of California Law book and the Teachers of Maute Song.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up, and you see, some of the members, go ahead. Some of the members of my family on my dad's side, especially in Compton, Linwood, California, they were connected with the Black Panthers back in the day. And then I heard stories when I was growing up about Fred Hampton and all those other guys. But my most favorite Panther was Fred Hampton, because he was a solid real man brother about his stuff, and that's why they took him out. Because if it wasn't for him dying, there wouldn't be no Obama, in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at what happened in this country. I've said for the longest time, and for how many years, they literally bred the warrior spirit out of the black boys. They literally
Charles,
did.
I just remember something.
What's that?
I remember there was like some place in North Carolina
You're
where they
going in
tried
and out.
to. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Excuse me. New technology here. Still working out the kinks. I think it was in North Carolina they had a situation like this. Either that, or maybe I might be thinking about. It was somewhere in the South, and it involved a certain case where a black man was accused of something, right? And then a mob came out, and most of the black men had to pick up their rifles, and most of those men were not to be fucked with because many of them were World War I veterans. But after dust has settled, I do believe they started putting in stricter gun restrictions against black men.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking about the Deacons of Justice?
I might be.
Yeah, because some of those people, the deacons of the certain church in the South, some of them were like World War II veterans, World War I veterans, and
World War I.
Yeah,
First World.
They were World War II and one. They had a mixture, and a lot of them were also bodyguards of both Malcolm and Martin.
Yes,
they were like, if you were a very prominent black,
This
black
had to be like in the 1920s is what I'm thinking about. Because it was like during those race riots you had in the 1910s and 1920s.
Wait a minute.
Oh, hey, Charles, I gotta tell you something, man. My mom, Florence Bailey, rest in peace. She was a close friend with a member of the Little Rock Nine in Little Rock, Arkansas, where I'm from.
Wow.
Yes, I think Ernest Green. He was a close member of the Bailey Irvin family. And the thing about me, when I became a two hard to control, what my mom did? You're gonna live with your Uncle Lester for about a while, for about a year or two. Those were the hardest years of my life growing up. I mean, he made sure he beat the warrior spirit in the where it couldn't be gone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about it. That's one of the issues that goes on and why you have so much violence in the black community now. Not saying white and Asian communities don't have violence, but a lot of their violence is kept under hush-hush. And we don't have a community. We just got a bunch of Negroes living with each other. Okay? A community is when you own, like Lindy said, you own the stores, you own the corners, you can get a young man a job. You can give people loans, support their business. We just got a bunch of Negroes who live near each other.
And that's the thing. When I was born in '69, because when I was growing up in the '70s in Little Rock, Arkansas, I lived up of 21st and High Street, which is 21st and Martin Luther King Street, and up the street on Izzard was a black grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
And then down the way, heading toward the state capitol, Martin Luther King, was the Soul Brothers record store. And the father of my close friends, the twins, Tim and Anthony, they own that store. And I remember back in the day, my mom would get those records of Motown and play with us on the record player from that store and everything. And then they had like another business, like a soup business down the street on Roosevelt. That was community that I grew up in. So I grew up where black people were running business around. But then after the 80s, you know, the Jews took over, and now the black community is nothing but mental problems. You know, controlled by outside forces.
Yeah, and what happens is when you come up in single family homes, which are predominantly single mother and ours.
Yes.
Notice, and people get mad when I point this out. If they get mad, okay, fuck you, get over it because it's factual.
That's the reason why they flag David Carroll, because
yeah. I'm gonna tell you, women do not usually carry the most highest paid jobs. They just don't. So if majority of the women have the children and have the lower paying jobs on the spectrum, guess what? You put your children in perpetual poverty. Now, your daughters and your sons are going to become materialistic because that's more of a female trait, the material. So what happens? That boy who is going to be looking for a father has no father figure around. Boys are going to run in hunting packs, i.e. gangs, military, or some type of club. So they're going to look and search out their masculinity and their masculine equals. They're going to go out and search for that shit. So when you don't have any controlling factors and you got a bunch of OGs saying, oh, come on, I got somewhere for you to go, little homie. Guess who he's going to have his loyalties by? Guess who's going to tell him, you got to do, remember when I looked out for you? Remember when I looked out when I got you out of this? Now it's time for you to pay full. And a lot of these kids out there, the only glorified version of masculinity in our fucking community is the criminal.
The pimp and the drug dealer and the con man.
Yeah.
And also
you gotta think about it. And it's sad because you have a lot of women who go out there worshiping the criminal, lusting after the criminal. And then once you have that fucking type of mentality persist in your community, you're lost. Think about it. Women talk about, I like a man with an edge. You know why they say that? Because they don't know what a man is. They never had a father in the home.
That's right. Because they were raised by single mothers that had men, a whole bunch of men coming in and out of the house at night.
Yeah. Think about it.
Yes.
Most men who are fathers are not going to flagrantly vaunt their sexuality in front of their children. As a matter of fact, you probably wouldn't even know he has children because he would. Matter of fact, he probably come over your house because he doesn't want his children to see you unless he's serious about you.
Yeah, I remember my brother's kids, especially my nieces and nephews, have asked me if I had a girlfriend or two. You know what I told them? I said, I'll tell you about it when y'all get older. Because I don't want you. You know what I'm saying? And you know that's the thing.
Go ahead.
Hold on a second. As I was saying, I remember I was working at the LA Fitness in Duncanville, and there was a whole bunch of black boys having a fight while I was trying to do my janitorial stuff. So when I came in and spoke to those young men all of a sudden went quiet. And the reason why they went quiet because they saw the authentic masculinity, the authentic manhood emanating from my soul, from my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that these young black boys were hungry for this. And then when I hear all the other brothers my age or a little bit younger say, "Oh, don't talk to those young bloods," I don't pay them no mind because there was a time when I was their age and I needed some mentor, some guidance. Because the first one being my uncle, because my dad, they would leave Bailey Senior wasn't around, who was a Mac and womanizer player himself. And then I learned from Virgil Miller of the Cub Scouts. Now I tried the military thing, but I got injured. But then when I came to ULR, I met another mentor of mine named Joy Islam, who taught me Taoism, Zen Buddhism, and boxing as a martial art. So the first martial art I learned was boxing, the championship street fight martial art. And then later on, I learned from Charles Shipp, who was a Mason. And then I learned from this guy named Peter Panagopoulos, who was a Greek guy from Toronto, Canada, who taught me Kung Fu. So I had several mentors in my life that taught me this path and everything. And then every time I work out at the gym, LA Fitness, these young blokes be asking me, hey, OG, how do you keep yourself in shape? Because you don't look like you fit. And then guess what? I have them line up, hit every bag, and I teach them. You know, it's like I remember the other day, my older sister Diane, asked me, that told me, there was some young men that came by my house asking about you. When you gonna come back and teach some more boxing at LA Fitness down the street? Yeah. So you know that's been my dream, Charles, to open up a boxing and martial arts academy while only teaching young black boys ages 7 to 12. Yeah.
That's something I've been trying to do myself for years, and it goes back into another reason how you curb a lot of violence, because I hate it when they separate gun violence. Like there's no other type of violence in the world. Another thing that separated gun violence was the fact that you taught people hand-to-hand combat.
Yes. Because I remember back in the day, they only had boxing clubs or wrestling clubs.
Oh yeah. Keep this, back in the 60s.
Boxing, also judo, I think, back in the day as well.
You had boxing. In the Boy Scouts, to get your merit badges, you had to know how to wrestle, you had to know how to box, you had to know how to do judo, you had to know how to do fencing, you had to know marksmanship. You really had to respect that weapon. You had to, because the ultimate weapon is the human body.
That's right.
In the human mind and soul. So
yeah, because when I was a young kid, I learned boxing and fencing myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of these kids out here, once again, no masculine influence. They don't know how to fight. They don't know. Remember that scene during the Jackson's little mini saga?
Yes.
And Joe asked the one kid in the neighborhood and his son, "You want to fight?" And he gave them both gloves.
Yes.
And they went out back, and he knocked the boy on his ass. And how proud Joe was of him, and how the confidence of his son became. And the mom was like, "What are you doing?" No, I'm telling her he's learning how to be a man. And notice when he told Catherine that shit, she was like, "Okay." But that's my baby. No, your baby gotta become a man. You gotta know how to handle business. That's right. And see, we don't have that anymore. Where, look, y'all want to fight? Come to the backyard. I'm gonna pat you both down for weapons. Here's some gloves. You got 3 rounds. Handle it. See, people don't understand. Combat actually made friends. Most of your friends back in the day, you probably fought at one time.
Yeah.
You got away from that.
That sort of reminded me when I first met my friend Rollo, and we was in there fighting. We knocked each other out with one punch. We were both laying on the ground at Southwest Junior High School. And then when my mom heard about it, my mom made us both sit down and drink lemonade and chill. If not, she would call Uncle Lester to deal with both of us. And when he came, the crybaby-ness was over.
Yeah, I've had to do that a couple times in the wrestling room. You want to fight? Okay. Yeah, one of y'all look at the door to make sure the athletic director doesn't come. You got 3 rounds with each other, and then I'm wrestling them both by myself. And I said, okay, now to turn the dial up to 10. Then after I'm finished with them, the whole team jumps on them. You don't fight your brother. You better have a damn good reason to fight your brother.
Right.
And
well, you started it. I did not. You did too. Did not. Did too. Did not. Did too.
And you know what the answer was? Y'all both better finish this shit.
That's right.
Because when I get involved, I tell you, it's gonna be finished. And a lot of people out there don't understand those masculine principles anymore. A lot of young men are being robbed.
You know, speaking of masculinity, I was at McDonald's yesterday, and this young Hispanic kid was up there saying the N-word, you know, up there disturbing the customers like me and this other black folks at McDonald's in doubt. And I told him, you don't need to say that word in my presence because me and this other folks didn't give you permission. And then this dude said, well, I grew up with you, bro. And I said it with my friends. I said, well, guess what? Just because your friends gave you permission to say that word doesn't mean I gave you permission. And then I told him this. How would you like if I called you a spick, a greaser, a grease ball, and a wetback? You wouldn't like that, would you? And then dude kept on messing with me, man. And I was up there choking the shit out of him and everything. And he up there trying to hit me. And when he hit me upside my chin, that felt me like a tap of a fly. And he kept on talking shit. I said, whatever, man. You hit like a female. And he said, I'll be waiting outside home. So no, keep on waiting. I got your number. And then he up there apologized to the other Hispanic folks. And I told him, no, you need to apologize to me first for that noise you made. And apologize to that black girl that you said that word in front of.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna answer that question
because these weak goofball Manosphere fools, the other races of men think that all black men are easy targets. But I'm the ones that prove them wrong.
Yeah.
Because I told some of my homeboys, there's gonna be some of these young folks of other races. They're gonna need that ass whooping. They're gonna need a wake up call. Yeah. Real talk.
Yeah, I'm gonna answer this question that I posted up there. See, here's the biggest problem that you're gonna have. You got to get these boys away from their mothers. The only time they want to give you the boys is when they trying to get out, when they want to go out, when they want to live their quote unquote best life. Too many times and too many places, you have seen so many women not even go and say, hey, my son needs a mentor, he needs discipline. No, too many of them, I won't say all of them, but too many of them have this I could do bad all by myself attitude, and they have been doing terribly. They actually made it a self-fulfilling prophecy. They have been doing terribly all by themselves. The problem with this is as soon as those little boys whine, because they don't even bleed toughness anymore, here comes mama, my baby. But then sooner or later, she's going to get mad trying to put the boy out because he doesn't know how to survive on his own.
Yes.
From his mother, he learned codependency.
Yeah.
She had stifled his boyhood.
She basically mentally castrated him.
And that's what created Blackistan, because like David Carroll said, rest in power, he said the black female, the black woman is guilty of these three things. You know, destroying the black church, destroying the black family, and destroying black masculinity.
Yep. And one fell swoop at that.
Yes.
Mac.
Well,
if you might recall a certain brother by the name of Black Ram.
It's therapeutic, man.
Can we?
Yeah, because what's the term he uses for black women?
Wow,
It's a
man.
Greek word.
Yeah, I mean, Black Belt 313 talk about the succubus.
Yes, or the succubi. Because he always
A lot of
talks
them,
about
I call them the narcissistic.
succubi is a plural form of succubus.
I call them the
Now, Black Belt
narcissistic.
303 also talk about the male incubi as well,
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
he does.
with the succubus raised.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Think
Can
about
we-
it.
And also, let's not forget, from these individuals, you don't have real masculinity. Most of them have a misconception. And what these guys end up becoming is what would be called a hyper masculine man or a alpha male brute. Like, you got these like muscle headed, roided up knuckleheads and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And
You
a
know, I
lot of
remember
people
my
think that's
homeboy Napoleon
hyperphilia,
told me
but
that a thug is a male bitch. That's what my homeboy told me, that a thug is nothing but a male bitch with a dick. Because they always quick to use a gun because they're too scared to deal with their hands and take an ass whooping. Like Pop said in Friday, he said, "Man, you boys are too
yeah,
sissified. Pick up a gun because you're too scared to take ass whooping. You win some, you lose some,
you lose.
but you win. You win to fight another day.
But you live. You live to fight another
You live
day.
to fight another day." Yeah. What he said
If you
in Friday.
remember when he fought Debo, like his mother,
Yeah.
like Anne Marie Horsford, who plays his mother Betty.
Yeah.
She's like, I can't let him. While he's getting his ass covered, she's like screaming, but Willie had to hold her back. So Johnny Witherspoon had
He
to hold her
said,
back.
hey,
He's gotta do it
let him be a
himself.
man. Let him be a
You gotta
man.
let it be a man. Let it be a man. More than one time he said that to her, and every time
He said,
she
get
was
up, Craig. Get up, Craig.
Come on, Craig. Come on, Craig. Get up, Craig.
Get up.
And then here comes the brick, and then the trash can.
Yeah.
And then he knocked him out, and then Smokey's punk ass. You got knocked the fuck out.
Yeah. But
Oh,
actually,
by the
that was
way,
my
for
favorite.
anybody
That was
who's
my favorite
Muslim,
part in the movie when Dad told him about his uncle and how he made a bad choice of the gun. That was my favorite part of the movie when his dad had a talk with him. You know what I'm saying? And even though Craig was up there complaining and everything, he forgot that he became a strong, solid dude because of his dad. You know what I'm saying? Because his dad being hard to making him clean up the yard and take out the garbage. You know what I'm saying?
shit. I come from a 2-parent household, and
yeah,
me and my siblings, we were all taught to. By the time most of us were like preteens and teenagers, we started learning how to do for ourselves. Like, my parents had to show us how to do certain things. Well, actually, when we were little, we had to learn how to, clean our rooms, make our beds and whatnot. And then, as we got older, we started to take up more responsibilities. And eventually, when we all left, as soon as we left home, we knew how to take care of everything. I mean, I could sew and everything, take care of my own shit.
That's the thing with me. Like my dad, Edward Lee Bailey Sr., wasn't much of a dad. I mean, he'd be around every now and then. And I remember when I first met him, I said, "Mom, who the hell is this nigga?" He said, "Well, son, that's your dad." Now, I realized
It
where
sounds like Eddie Griffin.
Yeah. See, my dad, Edward Lee Bailey Sr., was a womanizer because when he was married to my mom, he had affairs with other women. And then I found out later in years I got an older half brother named David. And then when he died, and this is a trip, when he died at the church, at the pew to my left,
that's when
I
you
saw
met
nine women crying for him. But see, here's the thing. That's the reason why my mama sent me to be raised by my uncle for a while. So I wouldn't be caught up in those ways, those ways of my dad, because my dad was sort of like a pookie back in the day. He was a smart dude. He hustled the white dudes on the golf course, but my younger brother had those ways too. But me, I realized, okay, I got like an educated Eddie side I get from my mom's family. And then I got some poogie side from my dad's family. So I knew how to balance that out. You know what I'm saying? And I realized I'm a genius bruiser. I'm a Malik. I'm a dragon where I can hang with the intelligent kids, but I also hang with the thugs when they mess with me. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Ron Wills and Cousin
I
Tito.
asked you this question, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Uncle Ron.
And
Shit,
Cousin Tito and ARC.
For that matter. You were born in 69.
Yeah.
Right? Well, you were born in 69, right? I was born in 82.
Yeah, I was born in 1969, yes.
Young. I got a bunch of uncles around your age.
Hey
Most of
man,
them, they were like
I
my
was
older brothers and whatnot.
hey,
But like
hey,
you
hey,
said, you had
hey, Charles, Charles. Back in the day, I was raised up around some OG strong black men wherever I went. Cause I remember if you do some goofy mess like these guys doing, these OGs would tell my uncle, and then my uncle would have a talk with me, and they say, guess what? After I get through with you, I'm gonna tell your mama, explain why I did what I did. And guess what? She's probably gonna whip your ass too. That's why I laugh at these goofballs when they say, "Yeah, Edward, you can't be up there checking women in public." I said, "Dude, I was raised to be able to do this, and I grew up with a woman with a mom who had enough sense to realize that she couldn't do it by herself. That's why she always went to my uncle and my auntie about things. Because my uncle Lester, he ran his own janitorial business, his furniture moving business, and his landscaping business. He was my first boss and supervisor when I was growing up. I remember I asked my mama for an allowance. You know what she said? Find out what your Uncle Lester got for you to do. So my allowance was a
good
paycheck.
answer.
Yeah. Find out what your uncle wants from you. And then
How old were you when you started? When you opened your first account?
I'm like 52 years old, but my uncle was also my first trainer. He got me lifting weights at the Gold's Gym in Little Rock.
No, that's not my
I was
question.
12th and Balmer. Yeah.
That wasn't my question.
What was your question? What was that?
My question was, how old were you when you opened up your first bank account?
I was 13 years old, and my uncle was the custodian of the account.
Of course, you need.
Yeah. He was the custodian, and I didn't run my own bank account until I turned 18.
You have to make sure you know how to.
Yeah.
Yep.
He took me through my paces, man, because
I'll move
if he
on that
found out if I spend the money on the wrong thing, especially if I spend money on females.